in a few sentences, a lot of things already mentioned, and I feel good, I feel good that actually you guys are very young, you know. I just learned that you guys are 17, 18, 19. Gosh, and I'm the reverse. I'm the reverse of your 18. So I must be out of this world in my... So you will forgive me if I... oh, thanks very much, my friend. So you'll forgive me if I sometimes say the wrong things, or that you can't understand my language. Blah, blah, blah. It can happen, no? But anyway, unless it's so serious, no need to remind me that I was wrong. I mean, at my age, I don't like to be told wrong things. Okay, now, so we are now in a setting of getting together in a very formal way, actually. Although I was like you, actually, in the beginning, right? So now, after so many years, we are back here with my two octogenarian. They are coming to become octogenarian, you know. You know, that's a very serious word on that one. In the old days, people just couldn't understand what that word meant, because people didn't live so long. In time to come, people will live to 100, so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much. So, okay. This sort of summed up the sort of thing I wanted. And then the word, yeah, fine, I know. I'm quite alert, you know, don't worry. I like the word Archurbanism. Now, that's something that, sort of when I first saw it, I said, hey, I didn't know I feel good about it, because actually that's really my interest from the very younger age. Of course, I started my life as a technician, working life as a technician. I mean, there was no technical school to go to like you guys have, you know. So we would work in architect's office and learn to sharpen pencil, you know, make T-square, straighten out and clean up drawing board and all that. But those were the wonderful times, because to be able to actually get to a technical education was wonderful, you know, in those days. There was hardly anything like that. So anyway, to cut the matter short, because I only have 2 hours, I hope you guys can stay back a bit late. Don't worry, the ghost won't come up until 8 o'clock. So you can stay until 8. This is Halloween, right? And all that. Or we can stay until 8 o'clock. I'm not the ghost yet. Now, now what I like best about Dr. Stu's point, 5 years ago, at the age of 76, yeah, okay, he has reformulated, this is the last paragraph, his thesis on city planning and architecture in Singapore. Now that's something that I don't know where he got it right from. I don't know how he got it right. In the process, he has proposed Skyland, waterfront, and attempted to conserve Furbank building apartment. After actively practicing in Singapore 55 years, I went to China for 22 years, and that's a long, long time. Don't ask me how I did it, but it seems I did it. Wait. No, I can do it, don't worry. Okay, so that's it, that's the introduction, fine. And, okay. So this is what I was trying to say, okay? After actively, blah, blah, 22 years, he has re-entered the phase of creative conservation. This is another thing that I'm trying to interest Singaporean. Creative conservation came out because they wanted to tear Pearl Bank down, right? And they have succeeded, on paper at least. Somebody bought it, and the idea en bloc means rebuild. The idea of conservation had no meaning to Singaporean. But I believe going forward for Singaporean and for Singapore, the next phase of our growth may come from creative conservation. I mean, we had nothing in the beginning. We were really an empty island with a lot of slums and atap houses. And thanks to the good work of Tony Tan, who became chief architect of HDB, gave us HDB, low-cost housing, public housing, so many type of housing, HUDC and the whole lot. And make us a nation of, well-housed people. Then comes trouble, in the sense that people are now trying to cash in to properties and want to tear things down. And I think that is a huge waste that I'm trying to reverse. I don't think I can do it, of course, but we help with the whole Singaporean. And I believe what brought us here was architecture and planning for 50 years. Now, I hope architecture and planning will continue to bring us forward. And only through architecture and planning, I believe, that Singaporeans at least, can recharge themselves with the belief in the city. Because a city without architecture is no city. That's very important to realize, because we are not educated that way, actually. We were educated to low-cost housing and no land and no jobs, blah, blah, blah. All the negative things were drummed into us. But lo and behold, lucky for us, we had a good government, a strong government, good in many ways, and bad ways, I don't know, because you guys may know better than me, because I was brought out to believe in them. And I think I believe still in them, that they have actually given great wealth to Singapore and Singaporean. After initial calculation, Singaporeans are quite wealthy already by now. Not that you own things directly, but you do own things. Not that you own the whole of Singapore per se, because we just own some of our homes. And that is worth a lot of money. Like, for instance, Housing Board, 1 million units of homes. And that is $1 trillion worth, if not more. And then you get condominiums, 300,000 homes. And each home is priced now at 3 million per piece average. Some penthouses going for 6 million. We are actually another $1 trillion rich. Now, we are a very rich country. Small place, few million people. Which country can boast of such wealth to start their life, so to speak? And I think we are starting a new life. And I hope, again, through understanding and knowing the importance of architecture. Fine, I think I've done my introduction in a long-winded way. Okay, now, fine. Okay, what happened? Okay, so it goes on. Oh, sorry. Okay, now, this is going to be the 5 things I'm going to share with you today. I will talk about Pearl Bank, Pandan Valley first, and then projects in Singapore and in China, then good, bad, ugly, and what's next. We have gone to the good, we have gone to the bad, and we have gone to the ugly stuff. Architecturally speaking, okay, I'm no politician, I'm no economist, but I know what went wrong in architecture. I can claim that, and I'd like to share that with you, and hopefully you can agree. Then, of course, you have this thing called en bloc, then conservation, then verse and ODP. Now, these are the 2 new things, actually. 2 new things that will confront us. Verse, you know what verse is, right? Voluntary, early redevelopment of HDB things, HDB housing estates, so that people can continue to live in better environment. ODP is what I call Owner Development Plan. Now, this is something new, because Singaporeans are used to be served by professionals, served by government, served by all the people who are supposed to be educated, and the rest just enjoy themselves. Take handout kind of idea. I'm not saying it in, I don't think it's so bad, but there is this habit of saying, okay, government know best. Everybody know nothing. They just wait for whatever the government say. But the government themselves are worried now because things have changed so much. The world has changed. Globalization has brought in new things. And then there are disruptions right here and there. And this is going to impact all of us. And that means we must learn to do our own things. Owner development plan, meaning don't just depend on others to develop things for you. Let's learn to develop things yourself. And that will help you to move along. Okay, then the fourth thing is architecture, the three-pronged future, architecture and city planning, the three-pronged future. There are three things that we can do. I will try to share with you what I think are the three ways that we can recharge our urbanism, recharge our built environment. Okay, then we have dialogues with staff. And then, of course, Teng Guan will join us and Tony Tan will join us in the dialogue that we're going to make. Now, we have only 2 hours. We have prepared a lot of things. I prepared. I'm a workaholic to that extent, you know. I overdo things. Don't know why. I'm like still trying to chase time, you know. I know not much time left, so people do take, people take 1 day to do one thing. I don't want to do 8 things in 1 day, kind of thing. It's stupid, a bit stupid here and there. You know, I don't know how to enjoy myself. Cannot? Can you please guide me along? If I talk too much, okay? Okay, this is another, okay, we all know this. After independence, everything was very good. And then we became very good. Sorry. And then we became first world status, inspired governance aided by architecture and planning. Now this is what I believe. Of course I'm biased. I believe everything good has been caused or given by architecture and planning. When I'm biased, please forgive me. You may not fully disagree. I mean, you may not fully agree. You may not fully disagree. Okay, I'm mixing up. Anyway, so this is how things are, right? And then we have achieved many wonders that people want to emulate. So the good, the bad, the ugly, and then the next is important. I will try to talk about the good now. Pearl Bank was good. Actually, it was very, very good. It's good for architecture, and it is an architecture that suddenly made everybody realize, you know, we could do wonderful things if we understand and we accept the challenges and so on. So Pearl Bank actually led me into that, and it is the kind of project that's meant for middle income in Singapore at that time. Now, 50 years ago, there was not much middle income population starting because Singapore industrializing and we want to renew our city. So businesses are supposed to come to Singapore, and there will be middle income level people who are rich enough to want to go beyond low-cost housing, who want to buy something, and also want to stay in the city. And then to stay in the city in the past so far, or then, in those days, were actually not very suitable for families, not very suitable for communities. They were just migrant workers, ama workers, shop houses, and so on. They were not suitable for making a great population. Hence, the government was smart. They want to do all this because to support a good city, you need a lot of good people, clever people, and all that. And that's how I got wrongly educated. To be good means work hard, and all that. You know, it's not true anymore. Okay, it's not true. It's just got to be like work smart, but don't be too smart. Okay, community in high rise. This is never heard of. How can you have community in high rise? In those days, we were all hugging the ground, walk up apartment, and of course the most was HDB 9-story block in corridors. I reacted to those architectural forms from the very beginning, thinking it's not the best kind of shapes it could be, and that is why Pearl Bank came about. So urban families in a park was Pearl Bank. Okay. No, it was my lucky break, so I got a chance to do Pearl Bank. Not much older than you at that time. No, a bit older, sorry. You guys only 17, 18. Okay, I was big brother already by then. So anyway, So what happened is, you see, like, nervous already. No, what am I doing? Yeah. Okay, so we had this opportunity because the government wanted to renew the city center, urban renewal. Urban renewal was set up, so land was sold and all that. So this is one of the projects that was sold to the public, and we were selected to be the architect. Anyway, I apprenticed myself in HDB. That's how I was a technician then. Apprentice, actually in those days you were still apprentice. There's no formal education like going to a school. You just park along a sifu, park along a guru, so you learn all that from him. So I learned quite a bit from here, all about low-cost housing. Then it came comprising of 2, 3, 4 bedrooms and all that. So in other words, it was a simple Hong Kong style wanted, but we very boldly changed it to something else. And Pearl Bank was born. So every part and purposeful form has a function. It's a very complicated building. It's a very conceived in a very clever way, but not just for shapes, not just for aesthetics alone, but for functional rationale. So those were the great feeling that we had in those days. Okay, now this marvelous sketch is EXO by Teng Guan Bi. At that time I was 30, he was 25. So he sketched this after we planned the design, and he said, "Oh no, it's beautiful, let's do it." And he made it more beautiful, of course. So that is how we inspire ourselves. You know, we work as a young group, team, help each other, blah, 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 and we progress. And this we all keep until now. It's one of the most precious drawing that I have. Okay, now, what are the features of Pearl Bank? A major feature is called kitchen friendliness. HDB at that time, you enter by the living room. Your corridor is along the outside. You enter, and your kitchen is always at the back. Okay, I thought about it and I said, maybe we should do something else. Make it more friendly. Make the kitchen be along the corridor, so that neighbors come along and say, "Hey, what are you cooking, man? Smells quite good. Curry, man. Why not?" That was one of the feelings about community, about living high-rise, about getting together. Of course, these ideas are all there from HDB and all that, but the architectural form that time had I suppose restricted, because you had engineers saying this is the low cost, you cannot do funny thing, you must cut costs. And when I was there, my first year there, I was asked to save 4 cents per square foot. 4 cents, It's already low cost, want to save some more. So we try. And the only thing we found was a rainwater downpipe. He said we cut all the rainwater downpipe and turn it into spouts. We can save 4 cents per square foot. Wow, everybody happy. So those were the days that we must understand how architecture affects human existence, so to speak. Okay. Then the next one was balcony corridors connect all neighbors. Now HDB, unfortunately, because it entered by the front and the living room, there tend to be a case of invading somebody's privacy. Not so nice. So it becomes not a very flat. And the worst part is what I think Tony. Now Tony of course has changed those things quite a bit in his time. In the earlier time, is this nice horizon, and because of the course narrow, had to be quite narrow. As a result, when you go home, you actually don't see anybody behind, or rather, once there's someone in front of you, you are blocked up. You see, because it's all one line. So the face-to-face contact was, to my mind, whether right or wrong, was a bit less. So I said, okay, don't do that. Why don't we curve it? Why don't we curve the corridor? Because by curving the corridor, this chap standing here would not be blocked, because the corridor all around him, and he could see people walking along the corridor. So that was another idea behind the curving it, you see. Okay, and that's why I said, instead of 4, 5 blocks together, we said, no, do that. Then we had this. Okay, then no more need to worry about elevators out of service. Now, this block is served by 8 elevators. One of the worrisome things was, hey, you're going to build so high, 40-story and all that. Enough elevators now. What if it's going out of order? You don't expect people to climb 40-story to go home. So we came up with the idea, the number of units require actually, say 4 blocks, separate blocks, and each block minimum 2 lifts, right? So I had 4 lifts to use. No, I had 8 lifts to use because the calculation showed you need 8 blocks. So I said, why don't I join all this together so that everybody has 8 lifts to use instead of 2 lifts to use. So they cannot complain that it was out of order. No lift cannot be ordered, lift out of order. So that's why the developer, okay, accept. Otherwise the developer would have thrown our design out. No, people are too scared to stay there. They won't even get near it. How can they want to buy it? So the marketing drive was interesting. High-rise architecture can solve urban living. Locals were wondering how. But then finally they were assured, are you sure you can build such a building in those days? It's breaking all kinds of ground. We broke all the ground. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, this is under construction. I mean, you can see the scale and the number of things that are challenging everybody. The builders were really very brave. But we had a number of technological breakthroughs, even at that time. We were fortunate enough to be offered some new ideas of construction that make it possible. 40-story high, how to get all the formwork to cast all the concrete. First problem. Second problem, of course, I told you about the lift already. And then the second problem, wow, the building is so heavy. Where can we get the pies to support the building? We were using Bakau pie at that time. And then most of the concrete pies was only, 300 by 300. The precast pies, So it is not possible to support and concentrate all the pies into so many columns. Now what happened here is that we were offered board pie. Now this is new. Last time we put pie, we pie, make so much noise and take so long. But this thing is very fast. Take out all the earth, replace it with concrete. And we could get pies 1.2 meter in diameter. And immediately it was solved. So that was a godsend. Thank you very much. The next one was actually the formwork problem. I mean, you cannot at the top, say the 30th, 40th floor, you have formwork to cast concrete. So we came across from Australia, slip form, meaning no actual physical form. The form just moved along, slipped away to expose the concrete. So there was no need to have any form of timber or metal forms. Now that's another breakthrough. So 50 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, we were confronted with this sort of thing and we break through. And that was almost disrupting us. Those difficulties almost disrupted us. But we persevered, and instead the technology disrupted the fear. No more fear already. Okay, so this is how it's done. There's a lot of story about this construction period, but we will not carry on too much. Okay, Pearl Bank, as I said again, we have technology problem, we have all these things we solve, and water, sanitary piping, was all having a problem. Hey, can water in a pipe drop so far down, would it break up all the break up all the pipes or not? Those are funny imaginations. Even plumbers had, because they were having pipes that's only 4 stories, 9 stories high, suddenly 4 times. Even they got scared, the plumbers, because in those days, sanitary engineers were not around. There were no sanitary engineers. The architect had to design the piping, and we did the piping work ourselves. Okay, and it was a wonderful sense of achievement. Now, one thing that I'd like to share with you is the winning design. Mr. Alan Cho fought to select it. We submitted this, and it's so different from everybody. The committee is scared, but the chairman, Alan Cho, is an architect planner. He is the one who said, no, this is it. If you want a new renewal, if you are thinking about new ideas, give a chance to this concept. And we were offered a design. I mean, we were offered the land. Then the developer, very brave, they are all heroes, champions and heroes, you know. Developers, the whole bunch of people who supported this project were, to my mind, really quite brave. Maybe actually more than that. Do people understand Hokkien? How many? Hokkien. Oh, not many. How about in those days, the whole industry, all Hokkien? How come all change until like that? I'm telling you seriously. Okay, anyway, you just don't speak, but you are still Hokkien. Okay? That's a consolation. All right. Now, then the problem came. The market of the new product. Show flat, all this we had to help the developer do. You know. Now, developers are so rich, and there are so many clever designers, everybody can get show flat done without lifting a finger. That's why all the architects got no job, and also don't want to do also. Because in the first place, they are not so good at it. They are interior designers, how they do all these things for them. So architects are losing a lot of influence and a lot of jobs even. But in those days, we had to do the show flat ourselves.
We were the master leader.
We were everything up to a point. Then came another big problem. Bank financing cut. Difficult time. HUDC, URA requisitioned it. The developer couldn't sell. And he had no, couldn't sell early, not say couldn't sell early. The construction must carry on. But not enough money. And the bank said, no, I'm not going to support a project like that. Not sure in the market, and takes you're going to have, and those ignorant people, bankers, what do they know? No, you're going to take a long time to build. No, too high, too tall. No, we cannot finance it. So one after the other, and the last one that was supposed to be okay was one big bank. Even that one let down. So this developer had to get into liquidation, unfortunately. And what happened? HUDC bought over. They bought over 90 over units. Yes, URA. Now, actually, when the thing was sold, they owned 90 units in there. So it was that kind of story when you do something different, something new. Okay, champions and all that, sad story that the developer himself got into trouble. And then speculators came in. Neglect is the next one now. When real estate takes over, architecture, bystanders, we couldn't do a thing. The speculators and the real estate come in, and they determine everything that is done for so-called the building, and architecture is the last consideration. Actually, no. Honestly speaking, it is not the business of developers to be concerned with architecture. They're only concerned with profit. Well, I suppose developers in this system, architects in this system, depend on architect. Depend on developer, because our government had their hands full enough working on public housing. So private housing, they are not going to lift a single finger, leave everything to the market. And the market means the developer decides everything. And the developer makes his calculation, says, no, I'm not going to spend money on architecture. I'm just going to spend money on how many square meter, how many square foot, and I'm going to work out how much I can sell, and I'm going to reduce costs to increase my profit. Those are the sums. So now we are faced. So the next 50 years should be different, I hope. It is CD replacing a valuable memory. Pearl Bank, I think, is a memory to Singaporean, with 800 shoebox hotel-style suites. That's what they're going to do. At the moment, it's 288, and their plan, when they calculated why they wanted to buy, is to turn it into 800 such units. They think such units is affordable, which is very true. In the market, it's affordable. But can you imagine 800 unit in a super high rise? I suppose it's like a hotel. And then the whole idea about city living, about family, about community is now wiped out totally. Totally wiped out. So we don't talk about that anymore. And Singaporeans don't know how to talk about that. Okay, this one is, the next one is, sorry. The next one is, the next one is split level planning. Okay, I don't want to spend too much. It has a good reason why we did split level. It's not, again, one of the things that I was hoping to respond to was that the preference, the love for terrace houses, two-story terrace houses. And apartments usually is one level. And the space experience living in there is just 3 meter, or in HDB 2.8 only, right? Meter high. And that kind of environment, to my architectural mind, was not so nice. I mean, for family to grow up to do that. Okay, after all, this is middle income, not HDB yet. I mean, HDB is doing a great job satisfying that sector of the population. But the middle sector needs something different. And they love terrace houses. So I said, okay, shall we do it in high rise? That spaces that can be manipulated into second volume, 2 volume, 3 volume, and they can climb up staircase as though they are living in a terrace house. Now that's the reason why it went that way here. Of course, that's the next thing that troubled us was fire escapes. Fire officer said, no, sorry, you got 40-story, and then when some of the units are 2-story in the air. Then the fellow in the bedroom up the second floor, where is he going to escape? I don't allow only one route out. There must be an alternative escape route. The fire officer demanded. Wow, nearly stopped work. My knees nearly left me. But we work hard and try to solve this problem. And again, I learned from Singapore's past. Hey, I said that the shop houses have spiral staircase, solved the fire escape one. Why can't I just do these things in the air also? And sure enough, they approve it after I suggested this and showed them, look, people can escape from 4-story down, so I escape 2-story only. From there, I go down there to the 2nd story and escape like this. I mean, or rather, this floor go up, brother. This floor going up. This is a room, instead of, so this is another interesting thing. He actually lives here and here, 1st floor, 2nd floor. Then he escaped to the 3rd floor. So in this way, again, intertwining spaces and connection with everybody else. So it's just like you can help me, I can help you in times of danger and all that. So those were imaginations that went wide and actually did some work. Now, this is the reason why we thought a double volume thing would be something that people would like to live in, you know, not just one story all the time. Now it's getting worse. Your shoebox is getting so small. Huh? I mean, HDB very proud. The CEO now tells me, no, you private sector people are very irresponsible. Building small things like that. I think ours is bigger and cheaper. Which is very true. Which is very true. Why is private sector become like that? You know what I'm trying to say? And yet, the psychology is, hey, outside condo very good. Appreciation, blah, blah, blah. Everybody aspire to move to a condo. Huh? HDB, CEO said, no. I think we know what we are doing. We don't need outside architects to help us. I mean, in inverted commas. You guys, what do? You guys no more freedom. You guys are being told by developers what to do. You think you can help me? You think you have learned enough to service me? What have you learned outside now? Literally, architects learn nothing about good architecture and good planning for the last so many years. Now, this is the kind of message I'm trying to put across to all of us. You know, try to relive those wonderful years of discovery, of learning how to solve problems, and not just use one. I mean, I suppose idealism is one thing, huh? Anyway, so this is a double volume interlocking illusion of spaciousness. That was the idea. That was the idea. I mean, we couldn't make very big, although it is quite big. 120, 30, 40 meter is quite big. But terrace houses are much bigger, you know. They are larger. So this is trying to compete against terrace houses. Not easy, but I think we did convince some people. So 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, and stacked up like this in split level formation. Okay? Now next. Okay, well, maybe you can see the model later. You see, this is. I want to quickly. This is the lift, one lift, and this one stack, and this is one module. One apartment is this module, and you saw just now the plan. You sort of split there, and they become big and small, intertwined together, interlocked together, become different types. And the complexity of spaces here is. You are going to look at the model to really understand how it happened. Some of them sometimes lost. Where's my house? So, you know, but actually they're just trying to feel that they have something very, very different. And now the interlocking split level formation to achieve multiple unit sizes with one plan module. This is the plan module, and structurally it has to be simple because look, you're going to build so high you cannot just got all kinds of structural shapes. You only have one, and within one you're going to produce so many types of spaces, and that's where we discovered split level can help. Okay. When I show you the model later, you probably know a bit more. Okay, but now next come to the next one. It's called styles. Of course, there was styles. In that time when we were still in school, there was a British architect graduate came into the school to give a talk, and he graduated with a brutalist style car park, multi-story car park, you know, sort of spiral car park in brutalist style. I don't know whether you remember Edward Wong. Alfred Wong's brother came back from England and showed us the craze of the time, brutalism. So we learned something that, hey, don't have to decorate our building, don't have to make it, you know, doll it up, put jewelry, put this, put that. We just make it plain and simple and be honest. Never mind, we can undress ourselves in public. Wow, how nice. Philosophy, intellectually speaking. Okay. Now this situation is this: super light or green. Now this is super light. Now these images represent when I try to help to get conservation. I bargained for some incentive from URA. URA said, okay, the most I can give you is 15%. Blah blah blah. I very camsep these people. Stingy, that's what I mean. Stingy is camsep. That's in Hokkien. So they give it, cannot. So never mind, we live with it. But again, it could be done in sort of green architecture style, attached to it. I mean, not attached, next to it. There's a gap, you know. And then we sit over the car park and all that. Or this one will be super light, high-tech stuff, you know. Curtain wall and all that, and small unit here. Just like what I think the present developer wants to do. Very like stuff. Now I said, don't do the whole thing like this. Maybe we share, we mix it up together. It will be better. You have memory and then you have the future. So that was trying to sell to them, but they won't buy. Anyway, these some of the details that we showed that the green one we could have actually, unfortunately in those times, Brutalists didn't have much green in Pearl Bank. So when I did the addition, I thought, okay, let's try to do something green, and I think we did it. Sorry. This is how this whole greenery can happen. You see. Now this is a corridor that can be opened up, and the whole corridor can be green. Actually, it's a matter of design. It's a matter of you thinking it architecturally, not constructionally, not technologically, but the architecture of space and place that architecture can offer. And that's something that we must continue to fight for. Okay, now come to Panang Valley. Maybe we should have a break. Are you people tired already? Not yet, okay. Not tired yet, okay. I'm not supposed to. All right, come to Panang Valley now. The next thing, the next big break, so to speak. Panang Valley was the first condominium of Singapore. May not be the one that got the first TOP, because it's a very large project. Around it, since this thing came up, there were some other sites, other people cashed in on it, and they had it smaller and probably launched it earlier. But conceptually, it's just a first condominium. Conceptual and design-wise, we can claim to be. And it's done. Why did Panang Valley happen? Why was it happening? Okay, I'm trying to say the key issues are at least to entice customers to replace landed property, to attract and keep talents. People were wanting to migrate, in those times, 1970. No confidence in the so-called independent Singapore. Everybody want to run away. The rich ones have ran already long ago. But then even the educated ones were sort of shaking, not sure whether they can stay in Singapore. So the government was very concerned that they know that if they make them stay, the middle income would want to stay in terrace houses, landed properties. So the government said we could never get enough land to offer a whole population of 1 million or 2 million people all in landed property. The other thing about landed property is that government actually spend a lot of money to finance the roads, to send services right to the doorstep of a terrace plot. So the Deputy Prime Minister at that time was an economist called Dr. Goh Keng Swee, calculated and said, we can never survive. Not enough land to offer. How can we attract these people? Can we have an alternative? So that was why a condominium was born. Okay, now this is the so-called basic layout, Okay, can I read this now? Simply not enough land. Condominium policy, May 72. We submitted November 72. Approved May 73. Exactly 1 year. Condo succeeded, finally. Many benefits and recreation amenities, the whole lot, which landed properties lack. So those were the selling points. We're trying to sell to the population. Don't think about terrace house. It's very bad. You only have a handkerchief, plot of grass in front of you, and then your car is there, and then if your parents takes a car away, you have to walk to the bus stops. Not so good, right? Of course, you can use umbrella, blah, blah, blah. So those were the things that actually we were trying to hard sell to the population. And you got something better. And that is why it's not done in terrace formation or housing estate formation. It's done in spacious formation. This is the valley. It's just a natural valley here, actually. And then this is how we wrapped it up. And of course, we introduced step unit to simulate terrace houses. We got terraces, garden here, so like simulate. So we have 3 types: terrace houses, slab blocks, and then point blocks. And why is it divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It's just a big project at the time, very big project at that time. Singapore's economy was just struggling, and then suddenly you had to build. And when we finished our design and put it up for tender, we got tender all breaking our budget. We were budgeting about 50 million, they came up 70 million. So the bank said, hey architect, I think I have to say bye-bye to you. Why you going anyhow design? So that was another crisis that we felt Panang Valley. And then they gave us an ultimatum. And that is why it nearly didn't happen, Panang Valley. If we didn't save and was unable to cut costs. So that's why architects have to get involved in the real production of things, not just the design of things. The technology, the commercial aspect, the economic aspect, all must be learnt to be able to. And of course, we all don't have all the ability, one person. That is why we believe in group practice in those days. Everybody work together as a team. But now the market is such that it's splitting us up into smaller and smaller bits. And this is also very unfortunate. So this one, finally, to cut it down from 70 million to 50 million, we discovered the reason why. Because the contractors were scared. Because they were asked to tender for the whole site, for the whole thing. 600 over unit. So many 100,000 square feet. They just dare not take the risk. And they didn't have the finance. In those days, there were very little so-called construction financing. Banks are scared also. So they pump up their tender prices. And even the lowest is outside our budget. So we decided, and with the help of people who understand construction costs better, we split the thing into 5 parcels. 1 for this, 2, 3, 4, 5. From 1 parcel into 5 parcels, and re-tender. Sure enough, the prices went down. Because those people who got the smaller parcel dare to undertake the project. And that's why we got 5 contractors. Oh my God, poor architect got to work so hard. Wow, 5 meetings every day, you know. Oh, asking the right question at the wrong time. Allah. Lunchtime is also asking. Anyway, so that was fun also, huh? Now, okay, so this is the valley, this is the valley, it's a very nice valley. And this is the other unit opposite, right? This is the opposite, so this is the valley, and they frame up nicely. What motivated, blah, 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 okay, I don't want to tell long story. Condominium began so that community spaces could be organized into one project, something that residents could own and share. And that was an attraction. You can own things now. You can own a whole big piece of land. You share it, of course. So these are some of the minds to attract the mindset. You own things, you know, you own. The trouble now is the ownership has turned sour already. Okay, so now, little ideas like that we thought was very attractive for them to climb up staircases to their terrace houses. So this was quite attractive, and we had very good receptions from the community, architectural community, and journals were published to explain the merits of the design. Open sky staircases. We knew it is not the best because no cover and all that. We can't even afford the cover. We couldn't afford the cover, so we leave it open. And sure enough, residents accepted it. Okay, this is like a whole set, it's the kind of thing. Look at this, 1970, right? Architecture in landscape is a prototype. Now, this is another important understanding. Buildings were never considered as part of landscape in those times. I mean, in CBD, where got building in landscape? I mean, townhouses, but I mean, sorry, shop houses only, but row upon row upon row, hard and all that, and back lane, that's all we had. But this concept say, look, we can have landscape, you know, not just roads leaving you at your porch in terrace houses. And that was trying to sell hard, we sold, trying to sell, very hard sell. And good enough, we were successful. Look at the number of varieties. Variety with one plan module again. Economy demands that there be one plan module. And to manipulate it into several types. So many types. I mean, we had to be challenged, otherwise, I mean, at that time, of course, Mr. Tony Tan wasn't the chief architect yet. So we were actually very proud in hammering the engineer who gave us standard HDB plans, because the control was structural spacing, so many meters. I mean, the width is about 3 meter or 4 meter per spacing. So
most effective was 2.4.
2.4, wow. The most effective structural framework system, the most economic effective was such. So the whole architecture was dictated, had to be dictated by those structural frame. Those were the days, okay? Today, of course, we can play a lot with shapes and things. And the idea here is look at the number of possibility, up and down, down and up, 4 levels, 3 levels, 6 levels. I just look at one penthouse last night. A friend brought out, he interviewed somebody who owned a penthouse, 6,000 square feet. Wow. And he said, I'm living in a townhouse, but I mean, sorry, a terrace house, a bungalow. Look at my garden. So those were the good points. Those are the good points. And I purposely want to put up here to show that there are many possibilities that was brought together. Okay, condo project almost didn't happen. Okay, I explained that already. Challenges, poor property, blah, blah, blah. But in the first 2 years, in the first year when it was launched, no takers. Even professors or educated professors who knew all about land shortage from NUS, they didn't buy a thing. Although they were given a lot of financing incentive, you know, those people still wanted landed property. Professors, you know, of architecture, you know, purposely, the sales team purposely went to the school to offer them, hey, like this is good, this is good. Yeah, not bad lah, but terrace house is still my choice. So for 1 year or so, it sort of struggled along, and very difficult. Then suddenly everything so. Launch 77, like this, so all out and lit in. Okay, so that's the kind of story that we have lah, huh? Because it is a brand new way of life, of living lah, the best of everything. That's what we are trying to say. Then now, en bloc, hey, they bought it for maybe 100,000. Now they are getting 3-4 million, you know. Wow. Is it the credit of architecture? A little bit, but most of it is the so-called property market, huh? And of course, one big thing called land shortage. You know why? My analysis, I may be wrong, but I'd like to share with you. How come suddenly things can go by into billions of dollars? Project, the land alone, you know, the building is not worth a single cent. They don't care, then they'll tear it down. But just to get the land, they are prepared to spend $2.6 billion. That's a lot of money. I calculated there are 3,000 condos in Singapore and 300,000 units of condo properties, 300,000. And if one is 3 million, it's 900 billion, which is close to $1 trillion. You know what is $1 trillion? It's huge money. And it's owned by Singaporean. That's a lot of money. That means our private housing, our private sector housing is worth 1 trillion. That means we're very rich. Then HDB itself, although it's 1 million unit, but okay, at the moment it's 1/3 the price, but it's climbing up, although there's some hiccups now. And then $1 million at 1 million per unit is going to be another $1 trillion of economy, of economic value that the population can make use of. We are a very rich city. It's just that the way we manage it is a bit awkward. We don't seem to be aware that it is possible to make use of this wealth to further develop the city into even a more advanced city. Money says a lot, no? Money buys a lot of things, you know. But of course, don't just buy property, don't just buy real estate. This money must be used to buy architecture. $1 trillion worth of architecture. You know how much good things you can do with it? That's the kind of message I want to put across to this population, to this gathering, to my future talk, and to the whole of Singapore population. You are rich and you don't know, but because it's badly managed by certain quarters, that we are becoming more and more scared, more and more. But let me explain to you, this $1 trillion in condos, the amount of money, if they organize themselves into a conglomerate, they could lend money to each other. They almost could form a bank that has $1 trillion value to play with. And to redevelop all these condos, instead of selling them off, redevelop them on their own, they're going to double their value from 1 trillion to 2 trillion in 10, 20, 30 years perhaps. Now this is the kind of courage we must have. But no, Singaporean is not educated that way. We are educated, never mind, government can do everything for us. I'm not saying they can't, they are sincere, but they also are scared. They are political capital, they don't want to gamble that. Supposing it goes wrong. So you cannot expect government to take your risk for you. This is the thing about our Singaporean. Once you do that, finish. They will also be careful. They will give you all the scare. They'll tell you this cannot, that cannot, everything cannot. Why? They want to make sure that you don't ask for too much. This is psychology in the politics of a very rich country. So we depend on, I think, the population and the new population. I've been meeting a lot of younger people recently. I talked to the mothership people, and they've been telling me about interesting things. And all boils down to one thing. Learn how to make use of your wealth in a creative way through architecture and through good planning. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared about. We are very rich. Imagine which country, how many small countries in the world got $1 trillion to play with. I mean, Africa, big country, right? Their mountain is worth $1 only per mountain. Hey, we are different, 1 square foot already. So understand the economics of growth and then play the game. I mean, participate rather. Participate, that's the word. Be part of the stake. Oh, government, you are already very clever. Oh, stakeholder, you must come up, you must do this, do that. I'm going to show you some of the things that they have. We will have to learn to show that the government, hey, don't worry, we can help you also. We can participate with you also. So be brave also. Oh, they are talking about exporting our infrastructure knowledge. Oh, ASEAN country needs infrastructure. Chan Xiu-Sin, is it Chan Xiu-Sin? The new Minister for Industry and Trade. Yes, sure. ASEAN, so many ASEAN countries all in trouble, all very poor. You think they have $1 trillion to play with? They don't even have $1,000. And do we dare to take risks ourselves? Okay, we'll come to this later. So 2.6 billion, highest record selling price. Condominiums will be destroyed if they continue. But don't worry, it won't happen. You know how many billion already put into property the last 12 months? Don't know how many billion already. That kind of money shouldn't be put into land property. Should be invested, directed by government to invest in other kind of industry to build the economy. Leave these condominiums to the owners themselves. That's the way I see it. All right, now take a look at this. Voluntary conservation versus en bloc. Conserve and double your value. Now let's see how this simple picture. You have 600 units here. All this altogether, quite large units. Keep them. Don't sell it and then allow it to be destroyed. You are keeping all your value. Each one of them $3 million. Fine, great. Then or more, or more actually. 2.6 billion divided by 600 is 4 million, right? Average. So it's 4 million, but you already get so rich. Then what you do? These are the car parks. 4 car parks. Our design, our layout was such that the car park put at the fringe, so that people, driveway don't have to go inside and spoil the valley. That's why the cars were kept outside. And now, of course, they had to walk home a little bit now. So we can make use of these car parks, these owners, and turn them into a point block high rise. What that they need to do is, oh, where's that safe? We need to build 400 units. Just like that. One block, 100 units. Or 30 stories, 4 units per floor. 120, 480 units. Or you can stretch it a little bit more. You can then tell everyone, each one have an additional unit now. If you build 600 units, then everyone will have an extra unit. And that's money added to your ownership. And then you take risk? No, you don't take risk. Why? Because for a developer, it's a big risk. A developer have to, okay, I'll show you something. Anyway, what happened later? No, I go backwards. Anyway, I will come to that later. Huh? So what I'm trying to say is that a developer, when they buy up Pandan Valley at 2.6 billion, they have to spend another 1.5 billion to redevelop the whole thing. And their cost is $4 billion. Hey, you think that's small money? The amount of interest they have to pay. If they take risk here and there and they can't sell, they will be bankrupt. So this cannot be so. Will not be so. Some crazy people might. And the only attraction why people are still looking at Singapore, you know why? Because government stress. No land, no land, no land. I cannot sell land. A little bit of land coming out. The only way is to recycle our land, to redevelop, to unblock our condos. Because we need to put another 1 million people into Singapore. And we need to build another 500,000 units. And where to get the land? Get it from the condos. And that's how the value got pumped up. The developers are not silly. They have done their calculations, especially overseas ones. They're coming in and they buy up because they know the demand will mount. If Singapore's economy want to continue to grow, and we need more population, and more population means more homes needed. We'll get more migration, immigrants, they're coming in. So these are the factors that's working, in my view, against architecture. And we should not allow that to happen, simply because we can turn all these things into a better architecture for ourselves. A lot of opportunities here. Okay, condo has been successful, so successful. We ourselves built 100 odd units, actually, 100 odd projects in Singapore. Altogether, we have 3,000 built, so there are a lot of work done by others. So fine. In other words, there had been a lot of work before, but now we are saturated. On the old model, the only thing architects are hoping, wow, en bloc, or even architects want to en bloc so that I can get a job. When I suggested this idea about conservation, some real estate people approached me in a talk. Hey, Mr. Tan, how can you ask people not to en bloc, man? Because where got the jobs? Where people want to, my company will collapse, man, if I cannot sell. I said, don't worry, you have things to sell. How? Listen, I got a bit upset with her. Said, you listen, then you know the answer. So these are things Singaporeans must relearn. Okay. So we did this much in Singapore. Still not much. We were really humble, you know. We never really go all out of our way. So these are things earlier ones, okay, all over the place. Projects in Singapore. Okay. Then what happened in China? Condominiums went to China. Please understand that. We were successful. We were building condos, and they came to study. And they wanted condos. Not the business people, but the government people, the mayors and all that, came over to Singapore, studied our condominiums, and said, hey, maybe we should do something. Why? Because they couldn't understand good housing, because their communist system was industrial housing. Industrial housing to them is factory housing, because they didn't have private ownership, right? So communists. So they built factory, and then the workers work in barrack type of housing, block by block by block by block. So when I got asked by the Shenzhen mayor to look into some of their things, I demonstrate to them in a very simple way. I took a piece of paper, I said, look, you have been building like this, rows and rows and rows, 4 stories, 5 story walk-up flats in factory and in regimental formation. And the person living there, they experienced only one type of space. That is to say, the block, and then 5 meters surrounding it, 5 meters of space surrounding it. And all these 5 meters, these blocks with 5 meters space around it, link up by a walkway, and you repeat them 100 times. Your people is going to be very unhappy, as well as not so intelligent after some time, because you're treating like, not like people with brains. So I demonstrate to them. I just took their tip and moved around and created building spaces between building, introducing landscape, and then they saw the meaning of it. And quickly, this developer, this mayor friend of mine, quickly told one of the developers who was a novice, who doesn't know anything about development. He failed after building few landed properties, few bungalows for sale, and then flopped because the buying power was not there. So that's when we introduced in 1995. My first project in China is called Donghai Huayuan, Donghai Huayuan, East Pacific Garden. And we built 600 units on a new fashion. And this young developer, only 31 or 2 years old only. Because in those days like that, Teochew very good businessman. He came over to Singapore, stayed, where did he stay? Stayed in one hotel, and then interviewed me and said they have this and that. Would you like to do? The mayor asked me to come to see you. I said, are you sure you know how to do or not? No, I don't know. They tell me to see you. So I said, if you want us to do, hey, can you give me a plan tomorrow? That kind of speed and that kind of business in those days. And we did it for them. And overnight, we were asked to go to China and put up plans and talk to, present the whole thing to the mayor and present to the mayor's planning department. And they all approved in one meeting. Those was a record approval. Okay, no problem. It's much better than what you were trying to do. Blah, 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 blah. So it was launched. And the luck is that it was so successful. Well, it was bought all by Hong Kong people. It's in Shenzhen, you see. So the Hong Kong people bought it overnight. Sold overnight. Wow, it became big news in China, in all the cities. And soon, the government organized all the mayors to visit this project, to learn from it. And that's how China built private housing, China condo style. And with that knowledge and ability, they were able to transfer 600 million people to live in urban centers. And then they, of course, to be correct, not just architecture alone, it is the financing, the economic that drove. They open up and they make home ownership possible. They were able to finance. It's almost like public housing already. So that's how it happened. And then in China, we did this. From Haikou, Sanya, Hainan Dao, right up to Harbin, the north. So all the cities we had involved in. And Shenzhen, of course, is our base somewhere here. So we never actually set up branches there because it's not easy to control an office so far away. So we cooperated with the locals. Anyway, it's getting a bit. So these are some of the quick things that I'm going to show you. The sort of things we did in China. Very quick ones. You know, these are built. Environmental landscape, 1990s. There's another 2000 already. And the architecture was being founded. Then we have this luxury living for Chinese wealthy. Chinese are becoming wealthy already by year 2000. Another frame. This is another one, which is actually meant for green. What's that? And another one in Wuhan. So we had lots of architecture opportunity. And to be fair to the Chinese, they were hungry for so many decades for outside knowledge and outside things. Suddenly they are given this potential to own. And they were invigorated, really invigorated. And we have to give them little things like, hey, there's such thing called landscaping, ponds and pools and water. You must not forget your suzhou, and this is in Zhuhai. We won a competition here. It's 5,000 units. Now they are finishing already. Yeah. It's under construction. Phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, 5 phases. Now I think they're into the 5th phase already. Okay, business complex and all that. So this is environmental landscaping. Landscaping is another feature that we introduce. More China projects can be viewed later, if we have time. So we learned from the best, Singapore. As I think China learned a lot from outside right now, and that's why they're expanding so fast. And they had initiative. Although they have a very strong government, with a pro-business government, but I think the businessmen were very liberated. Somehow they are very entrepreneur, more entrepreneur than us. That's why they succeeded faster. Okay, now for us Singaporean, we learn from, we learn from a free nation. A free nation, modern architecture, Corbusier, of course, modern architect. Niemeyer, who built Brasilia, is an architectural tour de force. Corps Chandigarh is really a town center, a government center, not quite. So it's not as successful as we thought. And then we learned from Tange, and of course we learned from our Toa Payoh New Town. Now it's ready for redevelopment. Verse coming in. Are they going to repeat the damn thing again like that? I hope not. But I don't think they have architecture in their mind yet, unless Tony Tan go back lah. Change and disruption, we are still not done. Okay. Good, bad, ugly. Now let's talk about the good quickly. Okay, so we set up the good things. Wow, we set up all these BOA, SIA, URA, NUS, all that and SLA to empower the upgrade and do everything. Then we have MCST to look after our things. Then of course land speculators. These are the aspect of the good, the bad and ugly. I don't want to spend too much on this one. It's just ideas. Now, when I'd like to talk about this building. It's built, let me see, about 600 years ago. 600 years ago, in stone, of course. And that's why it lasted so long. We built in concrete, and the concrete are third-rate concrete. They are breaking up now. That's why Prime Minister even dared to say, in our rush, we were building very badly, and that's why they don't last very long. And if you want to go and upgrade it, renew it, we can volunteer, and then you might be selected. So there is now a time to try to renew our new towns already. And I hope they introduce architecture and planning in a proper way. But they are not doing it correctly yet. I'm trying to share with you what I believe to be more appropriate. Look at this building. Now this dome was built 500-600 years ago. 500 years ago. The first dome in Europe, this is in Florence. Okay, this is in Florence, and the architect was Filippo Brunelleschi. He won it in a competition. In those days, it was very serious. In Florence, Italy, all the good public building went to competitions. It's not simple thing. It's not just give you that. Right now, developers get all the money. Down there, only the government and the church got money. So they had to fight for it. So this became a masterpiece. This dome was never imagined could be done. He won this competition because he proposed this dome. And look at the underside of the dome, inside. All these paintings and frescoes and all that will make it possible for devotees to admire the power of God and the meaning of religion and all that. So this Italian architectural decorations and graphic, we use the word graphic, their craftsmanship was what brought the architecture along. And this is quite important to understand. Quite important to understand. After this was built, the whole of Europe built domes. After this, according to some reading I had, built about 600 domes all over Europe. Every city wanted a dome like that. And even Singapore had a dome, right? Our Supreme Court is a dome. So you see, this is a symbol of science and of art. This is how architecture has such power. Seriously, you guys got to believe this. Don't play the fool with it. Because of this discovery that we could build domes with stone, stack it out like that, and it's the tallest in Europe at that time. Long before Vatican, finally Michelangelo did some building there. Then the next one. Now this one is even more fearsome, more awesome. This is built 1,200 years ago. In timber, you know. And we, Prime Minister say, we're doing our building very weak, it cannot last 20, 30 years. If you really need, we will do upgrading. They will do what? PD2 or something like that. It's like, what kind of understanding of architecture, what kind of understanding of buildings we have in Singapore? Actually very shallow. It's all property driven, it's all developer driven, it's all very bad. Architect driven, not architecture driven, huh? The big difference there. Don't you think just because you have architect, you will have architecture? No. In fact, the present architects, sorry, SIA, are the people who actually destroy some of people's understanding of architecture. These people, they were not built with SIA, they were not built with Board of Architects. This is 1,200 years ago in Japan, and then this architecture was brought in from China by the monk. You know, they didn't have global trade that time. They had intercontinental trade. So the Buddhism went to Japan 1,500 years ago, went to Japan. After a few hundred years, the emperors became Chinese emperor, and they begin to understand architecture, they begin to understand planning. That's why they have this model throughout. It's so many things we can learn. Look at this Buddha. It's the tallest Buddha in the world. And this timber building, the section, is the biggest timber building in the world. And this is done 1,200 years. And done by whom? Hey, carpenter only, no architect. But carpenter with an artistic man and a belief, of course, in God and Buddhism and all that. So in the same way, we must learn to live the way they do, or they did. Of course, in a more colorful way We have disco to go to, we have travel to go to, we have tourism to enjoy. But they had their good time. These people also make life very good. Look at the interior. Apparently this, don't know how many columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, don't know about, along the eyes, along the main eyes. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, one side 8 or 16 or about 20 columns from pine trees. They took it from mountains. Only mountains got such high, tall trees, and they're very straight. They need those straight. So they went to the mountains and they marked down the gifts of nature and brought it down. Very difficult. It took some years to build this. Of course, they still improve it along. They later added pagoda and all that. They have their own, of course, they have their own this. But look at the beauty of this thing. Look at the beauty of this thing. And look at this. This is very Japanese, of course. And this is very Japanese, of course. And it sort of added me. I think I was there about 40 years ago. I visited this thing. And the temple was under repair. So there's this monk was sitting there, and I walk in and say, look at it. And they have ties and all that, the building material and all that. I said, what is this? I spoke in broken English. And it seems that asking for donation. Any visitors can buy a tie so that the new tie can be placed on the roof. I asked how much money? Wow, very expensive. Never mind, pay lah. So I bought one tie and contributed, so I'm very proud. Somewhere up there is my tie. So you see, you identify yourself with good things in a certain way, you know what I mean? Okay, so, all right now. All right, so next is vital. Challenge en bloc with ODP, Owner Development Plan. En bloc is deadly, it's very bad. It's too costly, it don't last. After some time, no developers will dare to come in anymore. Or they will play funny things, and this government will have to break all kinds of rules to accommodate them, blah, blah, blah. The next that we need to do, now let me show you this thing. Why I call this creative conservation. Okay, there is I may share with you, there's something called creative destruction. It's the opposite of creative conservation. This creative destruction is a phrase coined by a very famous economist. I think he was in the late 19th and early 20th century, and he was trying to propose that capitalism is the right thing to do, and that capitalism must accept creative destruction. And that's another story. I won't go into that. The idea is that for progress, you must destroy. If you want to create, you must destroy. That was an economic theory. At first, I was quite captivated by it, but now I disagree with him. I believe in this thing, creative conservation. Isn't it contradictory? Yes. How can you conserve and be creative? This is precisely the point. Conservation is not preservation. It's continuous growth. And that's what I like to see, for instance, in the condos that we own. Improve it, change the rules. At the moment, the rules are not conducive for people to be creative. We cannot have creative conservation even if we desire. That's the kind of things that we have to change. Now look at this map. Housing dwellings, HDB dwelling, 1 million, 10, private 300,000, landed property this. So this is all our housing property, and it occupies so much of our island. Is it necessary to do it this way? Yeah. 50 years ago, when we started, do it. And now we have found, there are certain other ways that we can do lah. Then I think I would say the way is clear. We should do verse and ODE. Verse is okay, because we must renew our towns. We must renew our housing neighborhoods. Why? Because we want to make it more creative and attractive and community upwards for our people. Otherwise, they will not be able to participate. Look at the North region, okay, South Central region, West region, East region. This is, of course, somewhere in between, Northeast region. 5, 6 regions like that. We divided ourselves, and each of them got a few new towns. I think this formula or this form, this typology has performed its functions well for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's time for a different typology, for a new style. I mean, not every successful country has new towns of this kind of order. They are still surviving. All right, we have 10,000 blocks. Okay, I'm repeating myself. So many new towns at that stage. Land occupied is 180 square kilometer. Condos 300,000 hectares occupied. Blah blah blah. And MCST 3,200. Now this is another internet. Hey, that means that 3,200 MCST managing our private housing. Do they know anything? Nothing. They're all speculators. I know of one block. They bought the thing and then they invade and then they occupy MCST. They become the chairman, members, this, and then they move. And make use of the strata rules to their advantage. And they went there to speculate. I know of a case of this Indian agent who holds proxies for about 20 owners, 20 units, you know. Where he came from? He just came from India. And the Indian English educated, they know a bit about laws and rules and all that. And they find us a fantastic place for pickings, you know. And they are the speculators who organize themselves and then instigate the poorer owners or the ones in the lower floors and say, hey, you better sell, this thing will collapse. The building is no good. Look at the Prime Minister also say that it was built wrongly. Things like this are being used and exploiting. And then old people who also badly advise. No advice at all. That is another problem we have. That's why our SIA failed. That's why our architects fail. Have we done anything more after TOP as architects? We just give birth to that baby and that's it. Somebody take care of it. Never got involved. Never even asked to get involved. It's very bad. So, government, I don't know, you architects not interested, you're supposed to be champion of architecture. So there are a lot of difficult things we are facing. And until we can reorganize ourselves, a lot more stories like this. I'm not going to say, okay, I don't want to trouble you with all the numbers. What I'm trying to say very simply, we are very wealthy and then we can accommodate 8 million people. 8.29 million people quite easily. If you know how to replan our thing, if you know how to manage our homes and our properties, no difficulty. It's 5.5 now. So what? Nothing. It's a matter of managing. And of course, I got all these numbers. I mean, there's no time to justify them. We can do it some other time if you wish. Now, what has come to now, in my own view, the next effort. We have a big effort, Singapore, when we were independent. Our big effort was what? Hey, build low-cost housing, make everybody got a home. And that was very successful. That was very clever politics. And people are happy for it. But now, the next level of management comes in. The next level of complexity has appeared already. And I can dare say, the present system is not good enough to manage. The wealth that that the government, or we have created, thanks to the government. Hey, in those days, we were only $10,000 only. No, maybe the Ministry of Finance only got $1 million left in the bank to look after Singaporeans. Now, how much money we have every month? You know how much money we spent on our MRT? 100 billion to do all the underground lines, the airports, the harbours, Jurong. No, these are all money well spent. It goes to show that apart from the housing, all our infrastructure of Singapore is worth $7 trillion. Hey, $7 trillion, how are you going to make use of it? Because we Singaporeans, very bad. When I speak to the chairman, of HDP. I said, why you people still hand out people, make people do things themselves? You think we like it? We don't want to do so many things, but they ask for it. That's the point, you see. Singaporeans ask to be fed with free goodies. So they say, what can we do? Hence, re-educating our population into the purpose of architecture and the purpose of planning is a very vital strategy that we must take for the next so many years. Okay, so now, I'm trying to quickly say this three-pronged attack is like this. First one, the heartland renewal underverse may morph into riverfront settlements. That's my fantasy, may or may not happen, doesn't matter. But it's just to bring it up as an alternative possibility. Then the condo housing renewal under ODPs to build community living. At the moment, we are not a community in condominiums. We are just speculating for it to rise up and quickly, hopefully it will unblock. And this is another disease that we must cure. Then the remaining, now if we can do this well, the remaining 2/3 of the island devoted, is 2/3 this, we need to occupy 1/3 only, one on this, to occupy 8 million people, 9 million people. Then the other 2/3 of the island devoted to commerce, industry, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's better, easier said than done. But the conceptual aspect of structuring our usage of land is simple. Okay, now the first prong. Waterfront settlements. Kallang River. URA is very active, which is the biggest planning company we have in Singapore. They are the ones that do all our planning for us. They are the determiners of all the use of our land. And they are using the old formula. I don't blame them, because they have no other choice. That's the only thing they know. That's the only thing, with due respect, the political leadership know. The political doesn't know any other way. They know only this kind of planning. Sell the land, pump up density, pump up plot ratio, bring in population, calculate any traffic. Okay, maybe push people to go public transport so that it will be car light, don't have car jam, so that Singapore can be marketed as a beautiful city. Oh yeah, that's all right. But I'm afraid the old systems they cannot achieve some of those aspects. Now, therefore, this river, Kallang River, ideals, they were, well, I mean, I had some friends in URA, they are planners and all that, we are planners, so we are communicating. So they asked me to suggest some of the things for them. So I suggested this for them. The first one, riverfront settlements. I told them that what you need to do is, here is a river, 10 kilometers long, from here up to the golf courses of Island Golf Club. And along the way, over the years, the whole embankment are all overwhelmed with development, inappropriate development. Here, our best river, our most longest river, supposedly supposed to be a scenic place. Of course, like Singapore River, we have done something. So this could be the other scenic river park that we can create. And this is where we are beginning to realize. No harm. Singaporeans at a very professional level is thinking. But I think they may be too late. I hope it's not. Because all these at the moment are occupied. Occupied by everybody. Industry, workshops, all kinds of funny schools, all sorts of things, and officers, this and that, crowding the banks. And it is not pretty. But we still have to make use of it. And my simple study, of course, proposed draft master plan for this whole thing. 10 kilometers long, blah, 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 blah. I think it can yield 200,000 homes. So at 3.5 PPU, we can house 700,000 citizens just along this strip of land. About one kilometer wide, 10 kilometers long. The choice is yours. You want to build for 100,000, 300,000, or 700,000 citizens. In other words, you can have a new town there. It's a new river town and travel by river. You can have river taxis. And then outside it, you can bicycle to where? To all your MRT lines, MRT stations that is surrounding it. And then there are roads crossing it. And this you can change to 7 neighborhoods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because these are bridges and roads that cut the river up. And it could be replanned and redesigned. And things like that can happen, okay? And now this is the overall picture. Okay, may I sit down for 1 minute? Now, okay lah, okay lah. Okay, I'm still okay lah. Huh? Look at these 3 maps. This is the map I took from PUB. Without their permission, public property, what the heck? So this is where the rivers had been. 48 major waterways Singapore had. And we have lined them all up with concrete and turned them into canals. Why? Because PUB and the rainwater drainage department just wanted to make sure all the rainfall will drain to the sea very quickly. Right? So, but lately there is a Bisan project that opened up this canal and turned it into a water park, a sort of river park. And that's very pretty, actually. So we could actually assume that, in fact, if we plan 19 of these waterways, 19, like, just pick the 19 of the 48, and zone its banks 500 meters on one side, so it is 1 kilometer wide along the length of the river, like Kallang River, like this. You can hold a lot of homes and people there. And you only occupy that much land, 113 square kilometer. We should think like this. We should think how to use our land creatively. We're not thinking about 1 year, not thinking about 1 decade. We are talking about the next 30, 40 years. We plan our city to make it more effectively livable. We have so many agencies looking into all these things, but they're all in silos, looking after their own. So by arithmetic only, it can house 8 million people. Just these strips of, and there could be like 19 new towns. And of course, we still keep some of the towns. Some of the towns you can string a little, or you can share it out, or whatever. And then you finally free some of the land, the brown one, free it for industries, free it for commerce, free it for other functions. Look at all the structural land use. It's as simple as that, okay? The airport here, the seaport here, okay, our conservation here, I mean, reserve and reserve. And then this is MRT lines. Look at our MRT lines. We have enough transportation system. The minute we add the rivers into river taxis system, we're probably able to help. As our people age, living alongside river not so bad also. And then some of the land along the river can be farms. Of course, we make sure that at least from the edge of the river, 200 meter wide, should be green zones, should be parks. So imagine we have so many linear parks then. Hundreds of kilometers of linear park that can be used daily. Unlike now, the parks that we have are actually not used daily. It's just used for recreation, used for outings on weekends, and sometimes not even visited. And they spend lots of money trying to turn it into a theme park here, a theme park there. All these are not appropriate for Singapore's situation, in my view. Now, next one, called prone number 2. Second prone. I will call this owner development plan. And I picked Laguna Park and Laguna View, these 2 plots of land. This is Laguna Park and this is Laguna View. So altogether, they add up to about 1,000 units right now. It's HUDC, and this is the gift from government. They bought it, don't know They sold it, I don't know, Tony, can you remember? It was sold for 100,000 or 120,000 because some of them complained. Yeah, some of them complained that they could not afford to buy private homes, private condo. So government said, okay, don't worry, I look after you. I will zone 22 of this HUDC. Now on block already more than half. I think we only know this way out. Why only one way out? In fact, these are the places, these are the plots of land, which was a gift from the government, should be redeveloped under requirement. And don't just sell it off and then build shoebox houses. So there are ways that we can beautify our city and we can bring in more community and more livability and in fact more wealth, further more wealth. Now, let's look at this little example that I have made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. I'm taking the Laguna view. So because government again give it further gifts, increase its plot ratio from 1.4, 1.5 to 2.8. So you double the land value. Straight away double. That is why they can sell it value at $1.4 billion. They're trying to sell it. I don't think they have takers. So these are the issues, you see. And then what they can do is they should become developer themselves. Keep these 5 blocks, upgrade it nicely, and then these lower ones will be for the aging population perhaps. And they can rent this out, or they themselves come down and live here and then rent this out to meet the future demand of people wanting to work in Singapore. This is the way. Instead of building just, and because the developers will calculate it this way. Okay, we need so many white-collar workers coming to Singapore, so many 1,000 units. So they will build these small units to meet this market. So it is entirely market-driven without understanding the architecture that must accompany such great developments. Hey, we have 3,000 plots of land, big and small. This happened to be the big one. 3,000 such plots of land. What do we do with it? They don't even consider encouraging architects design for such things. I was trying to talk to Deng Wami earlier. We should ask government, when for lands like this that they own actually originally, that they should demand that any redevelopment must be a subject of proper architectural competition to get the appropriate solution, not just anyhow depending on commercial real estate numbers. So these are things that we can help ourselves to push for quality environment to be built in future. So with this situation, I propose here.
15 minutes.
Okay. I'm so sorry. This I propose here. This you are doubling the number of units. One slab block and a number of low blocks, and this still retain. And you can double the number of units, and most of them can be normal big units. Don't have to be small units. Okay. This of course for the whole two sides. The whole 2 sides could be 3 major blocks like that. I mean, this is only just a quick study, all these blocks can stay, and then the lower ground between, and then you still have a big open space behind, in between. So these are, because these are big plots of land, plenty of space that you can do things with. I'm sure Tony Tan would like to replan this. All right, these numbers I'm going to skip, okay? Don't worry about that. The only thing I want to say is that if you allow a developer to build, he's going to cost him 3.5 billion, and then he's going to hopefully sell at this price, 2,000 units will get $5 billion, but then he will have to pay a lot of costs, and in the end, hopefully in 5 years, his profit may be like that. But if the owner themselves develop, they can earn $4.5 billion. Hardly with no sweat actually. Simply because if we can have a banking system to finance development, they already own the land. To add 1,000 units there, it's just $100 million worth of construction, good enough. And if you do it in phases, you hardly need much money, cash. But the developer takes huge risk, and then he must raise the selling price to make a profit. And he will plan this and that in such a way that there will be shortage, there will be demand, and then he will pump up prices, and the prices will go up and up and up until we can't afford. So in other words, instead of pigeon coop and pigeon boxes, we can build every housing in all the HUDC homes. Okay, I mean, this is just an idea, huh? All right, I'm not going to go through it. Only good enough. Therefore, I may, if you allow me, I advocate transforming the 3 trillion housing economy into an economic driving role. It will open up much employment and investments. That's the conclusion, huh? Hopefully it works. Okay, then the third one. Okay. The third one, I sort of imagine Pearl Bank and People's Park and then Pinnacles, these 3 icons can join force with 3 parks. 3 parks. Pearl Hill Park, this one is Duxton Park, and this one is another small park, all joined together into 1 kilometer long kind of corridor that linked up Pearl Hill to Tanjong Pagar. And plenty of creative voluntary conservation can happen for the creative economy of Singapore in future. So this is one study, okay? This is how I believe that it can be done, because this is the boundary of the park, and then around the boundary of the park, we can reserve all this land. And then these 3 icons will be the catalyst to bring in attractions and bring in the meaning of good architecture, so that these people, when they invest in this, this is according to proper boundaries, all proper boundaries, and each one have their owner, and they themselves can. So they are become stakeholders, so to speak, as URA tried to do. URA, China Place, City Hall, Jurong Gateway, all these 9. They call that 9 precincts business improvement districts. They want to use this to encourage more business in CBD and the center of Singapore. They call it our neighborhood. So things are happening in Singapore. Now,